Well, good evening. This is Wednesday night, and it's really a great opportunity to learn from one another and to share your insights and your experiences. We'd love you to engage with us later this evening and look forward to hearing your questions. And I just want to remind you that we are in month number 3 of 2023. And it's usually at this time when people have forgotten what their new resolutions are and they're so busy with the day-to-day humdrum of life. You know, up on Monday morning and off to work. And it kind of repeats itself over and over again. Work and back, work and back. And then it's thank God it's Friday and the weekend is here. And that is not what life should be. We should be excited every single day. And I want to speak to you this evening about something which I'm really passionate about and something that came quite clear to me in my recent visit to Uganda. So if we have anybody joining us from Uganda, tonight is about giving me hope. And I trust that as I share this message with you, you will become as excited about the future as Faith was in our session in Kampala in Uganda on the weekend. I've realized that the one thing that precedes hope is turmoil, darkness, depression, anxiety, all kinds of interesting things that people might experience. And it's in those times where hope is absolutely essential. It is in those times that hope comes alive. And so I want to give you a few insights this evening using the word hope. And I trust that it's going to inspire you to take a leap forward, not only take a leap forward, but take a leap in faith and to step into the future with confidence, conviction, commitment, and all those kind of C's so that you have clarity for the vision that you've been given. I'm going to talk about the first letter, which is letter H, and that really is about the word hear. Now, when I say hear, I'm not talking about hearing with your ear. I'm talking about hearing with your heart. I'm talking about when you're inspired from the inside out, when a flame is ignited within you. There are times when we have had inspiration in our life. I'm sure that you have been inspired. You've had a thought, you've had an idea, you've used your imagination in the way it was intended to use. And it's that kind of hearing which I am referring to this evening. The hearing that quickens your heart, that gives you a pulse, that makes you excited about a possible future that's better than the present. I'm not too sure what your current situation is, but of course in Map for Life we eradicate those words. We move away from the words that limit our future. We don't want to describe our situation. We want to describe our destination. We don't want to describe our problem. We want to talk about solutions. We don't want to talk about under the circumstances. We want to talk about being above the circumstances. And in order to have a positive, powerful outlook on the future, it's important that we begin to train ourselves to listen with our hearts. Because it's in our hearts that the deepest desires of who we are and what we have come to do are revealed. It's in our heart where the magic happens. And we need to begin to make a conscious effort to take time to listen to our heart. I remember my grandmother used to always say, when I was facing a big decision, when I had to choose, and I was finding it difficult to make those choices. I was actually in a place of indecision, and I would talk to her, and she would say, "My son, listen to your heart." And I never liked that answer. I thought she was just copping out and wasn't able to give me the decision or make the decision for me. But she was right. You see, she had heard from her grandmother the very same things, because it's in our heart where we make the right choices. When we confuse the decisions of the heart by making decisions with the head, we end up putting ourselves in a battlefield, in a battle zone. Our head and our heart begin to fight one another. It's whether we have a D or a T at the end. Have you heard with your heart? Because when you do, you begin to connect with the deepest desires that you have, the ones that are going to carry you through every single difficulty that may come your way, with enthusiasm, with excitement, with the ability to overcome, to get up again and move forward. This is in our DNA. So the letter H is about here. The next letter in the word hope is the letter O, and it talks about being obedient. When you hear that voice, when that voice speaks to you, when that voice speaks to your heart in a way that you cannot ignore, when that voice wakes you up out of your slumber, it is then essential that you obey that voice, that you begin to do something with it. There's no point in hearing a life-changing voice and then simply ignoring it. And you may be the kind of person this evening who has not only heard the voice once, maybe you've heard it many times, maybe it's been confirmed by others. Maybe there are other people that have engaged with you and they've confirmed what you've heard. The question is, when are you going to be obedient? When are you going to listen to that voice? When are you going to take it seriously? When are you going to recognize that the world needs you to take action and to be obedient by listening to that word? I think it's time. I was talking to someone on Monday morning, and she had this idea for a convention that they're going to be holding in the near future. And the focus for this convention is arise, shine, for your time has come. And I just want to encourage you to say your time has come. So it's time to be obedient to the voice that you've heard. Let that obedience be a decision that you take today. Be determined. Be dedicated. Be diligent. Be disciplined. These are key words that link and demonstrate that you have obedience. If I'm talking to you tonight, write down what you've heard. Get ready for the next step, because the next step is the letter P, and that talks about plan. Put a plan together. This demonstrates that you have intent. In fact, it declares your intention. It's a declaration. Your plan is a declaration that you have heard, you have obeyed, and now you are preparing for the next step. So maybe the word preparation is key in the word plan. So many people today are not prepared, are not ready. We should be spending every waking moment preparing ourselves. I have met a group of people in this place called Uganda. And if you're not from Africa, you might not know where Uganda is. I'd encourage you to go and look it up. It's next to a big lake in the center of Africa. And when I say center of Africa, maybe it's more to the east. But if you put a compass point in the lake or in Kampala, the capital, you'll be able to draw a circle around Africa and Arabia. Imagine that, Jane. Africa and Arabia would be included in that circle. And so I want to encourage you that the word plan is also the word preparation. But the people in Uganda know something else that is absolutely key, vital, critical to this message this evening. And that's the word pray. Pray. I see the word primrose. Primrose, this is a P. Maybe it's for you. It's time to pray, and I know that you do. Preparation and prayer go hand in hand. I think we need to be in that place where we ready ourselves, because something significant is happening. Something marvelous is happening in the world today. I know, I hear, I listen, and things are beginning to happen. People are connecting out of the blue. People that I haven't seen for 40 years are reconnecting in what may be perceived as a magical way. But I believe that there is something that is happening globally right now in response to the 3 years of preparation, 2020, 2021, 2022. This is the year for us to begin to launch out, because those 3 years of preparation weren't only about preparation, but they were also connecting people with purpose, connecting people with passion, getting people prepared for such a time as this. The time to arise is now. The time to shine is now. When you do, you begin to give other people hope for an exceptional and exciting future. And then finally, the letter E is stands for the word execute or execution. And execute or execution talks about follow through. It talks about taking meaningful action. It's time to stop talking about your ideas. It's time to stop wishing for your ideas to become true. It's time to stop waiting for someone else to step in and help you. It's time to stop waiting for someone else's permission. It's time to stop waiting for a government to change. It's time to stop for someone else to give you authority. The time to act is now. Action is necessary to demonstrate that you are completely and utterly sold out on the voice that you've heard in your heart. Stop waiting for the resources. Stop waiting for the right time. Now is the right time. This is the time for you and me to begin to act on what God has called us to do. Stop being fearful. Stop procrastinating. Stop dilly-dallying. Stop daydreaming. Turn your daydream into reality by taking action. This is the time for us to do it. The world is waiting for you to show up and not to be buried. There's so many people are living their life safely, trying to get through life. I want to say to you today, you are destined for a grave. Your body is going to be buried. Before it is buried, do you not want to do something that touches the hearts and minds of others? Do you know when you do, you leave a living legacy? When you connect with people, you ignite something inside of them that's going to live on beyond you. Is that not what you are destined to do? Are you not called for such a time as this? Are you not unique? Are you not one of a kind? Is it not possible that you are the only person with your gifts and talents, mandated, anointed, provisioned, and destined for such a time as this? Is that not your truth? I believe it is. I believe that you and I are here this evening because this is your time. This is my time. This is our time. The world needs you to show up. And the way you show up is to hear, obey, plan, and execute. And you know what's fascinating about this word hope is that it reflects, it's a description of the word faith. Because faith is to hear and obey and to execute on what you've heard without question, without doubt. I had a wonderful experience on Sunday where one of the participants in our training changed her dream from becoming a counselor to restoring hope, changing her dream of becoming something to connecting with her originality and being the person she was born to be someone. And you know, the shift, the change that happened was visible in her outlook, in her demeanor, in the way she approached the day. She leapt into the class with faith and she jumped out. She jumped out in faith as a prophetic action. And that after she had left, this message was talked about in that room, that very room. And you see, not only does the word hope mean faith, but the person who had this revelation that had shifted from wanting to be a counselor, but to restore hope, to bring hope, to give people hope, her very name is faith. And it's like that in life. You have been called for such a time as this. And if you have been called for such a time as this, it means that you have been sent. And if you've been sent, it means you've been deployed. This is your time. When you've been deployed, you have been released. You have been set free. You have been unleashed on the world to come and make a purposeful difference. And I want to invite you today to step into your calling, to be obedient to that voice that you hear, to demonstrate your obedience by putting a plan together, to stop procrastinating, but to take action, not just any action, but meaningful action, guided by your plan, in line with the voice that you have heard, and demonstrating your obedience. I know when you do, you are going to ignite your own flame. You're going to be on fire and you're going to ignite the passion in others. I've enjoyed sharing with you this evening. I trust that you've enjoyed the show. I look forward to reading your comments, listening to them. I see I've got a number of people that have shared. Eve, wonderful to welcome you from Uganda. Eve was joining us this weekend, and I met her son, wink, wink, Abel, who was there on Monday evening. So I met Abel, I met Eve, I met Joseph, I met Joshua. I met so many people's names that I'm familiar with. Great to have you joining this evening. Marvin from Pretoria, South Africa, Henny from Johannesburg, Primrose from Zimbabwe, Jane from Uganda. Great to have you guys join. I'm going to play a short ad, and if there's anybody who has a question or would like to participate in tonight's discussion, please leave your questions. It'll be great to chat with you in a short moment. We will see you right after this little break. Great. I was just reading some of the comments, and Marvin, I was just reading what you're saying there about the power is in your hands, although or power is released when you take action. And I think that is such a valuable comment. And I see that all the time when people begin to act on their dreams and vision, it seems to cause something to happen, something that is remarkable. I see it over and over again. Just Monday morning, I met with someone who I haven't seen since November 2006. And when we connected on Monday morning, it resulted in a new step that's going to be taken. And Jane, who's with me in studio this evening, was part of that process, and she's just as excited as I am about what's going to be happening in Uganda, in the different things that we're doing. So, Jane, great to have you part of the panel, and if you have any comments to share, or if you'd like to talk live, please let me know. But Jane just says in agreement that it is time to be deployed. And we were talking about the concept that the world has brought to, or rather caused us to think about, and in fact, even believe. We spent 12 years in the current schooling system here in my country, and I found this is not just in my country, but in many countries around the world, where people spend 12 years in formal education. Some go on to study and get a degree that might take 3, or maybe they do an honors degree and take 4 years. They follow that up with a master's and maybe a doctorate, and then they seek to be employed. Can you imagine? They seek to become someone else's slave, because the word ploy means to use something or someone to your advantage. But the word deploy is to release, to cause you to be fully provisioned for. And this is used in today's world. Some of you might be familiar with recent events where there is a war taking place in part of Europe, and that war results in the deployment of armies. And when soldiers are deployed, they need to know they've got the backing of a logistics system that's going to make sure that they have everything necessary to fulfill the mission for which they've been deployed. Ambassadors get deployed by their governments to other countries, and when they go to those other countries, all provision necessary for their deployment is provided by their home country, not their host country, their home country. So they are fully deployed. Now, if you and I have been sent here for such a time as this, then we've not been sent to be someone else's slave. We have been sent to be deployed, to be released. And so I'm really excited about the idea of deployment. And I know that there are people that kind of hear this message and their heart begins to quicken, but at the same time, there's that voice in your head, the voice in your head that says, no, just hold on a moment. This is going to be very risky. I want to say every step of faith looks like a high risk to an unbeliever, to somebody who hasn't caught the vision that you have seen. You can't expect them to have the kind of faith that you have. But if you've caught the vision, if you've seen that people need to connect with their destiny, if you've seen that people need to understand their identity, whatever your vision might be, then you've caught that vision. That fire is within you. No person can give it any legitimacy. You have caught the vision. It is in your heart. You need to follow through and carry out and act on your deployment. So I'm really excited too, Jane, about this word deployment. I just want to read what Henny has said to you this evening. Well, Henny, You are definitely not silent. We hear your voice. So for anybody who's still with us this evening, please share your comments, and I will address your comment or what you are sharing, your ideas or questions. This is our time, and I think as I think about the future, I know the outcome when it comes to the vision that God has placed in my life. I know the outcome because I've seen it. The world is mapped. I've seen that. It's been very, very clear, not in my mind's eye, but with my heart. I've seen it. I've seen it finished. I've seen it with my eyes closed. And so I know the outcome. Whatever thought comes my way that tries to distract me, whatever thought comes your way that tries to distract you and keep you from pursuing what you know to be your passion, what you know to be your purpose, what you understand is going to make a difference in the world around you, that distraction needs to be ignored. Here's a lovely saying that I learned in the lovely country of Uganda. And this is how the people talk in Uganda now. This is an amazing thing. Before I arrived, people used to say this. They used to say the problem in Uganda is. But today they've changed. They no longer say that. Today they're excited. When they open their mouth, they say, you know, the solution in Uganda is. And I mean, that's an amazing revelation. That's a transformation. Imagine if everybody in Uganda began to speak like the mappers do. And instead of speaking the problems into existence, they speak the solutions into a reality. That is going to be a remarkable transformative future or transformed future. I can already see it. I can already see it just in the change of the words that people speak. Thanks, Henny. I love that. Hope, which is about having the dream, triggers faith, which is about action, which results in the love, the passion. Faith, hope, and love. I'm sure some of you might recognize where that comes from. So, Henny, maybe you've got a specific reference. I would love to remind people of the reference, and it's such a well-known passage. I'd love to share that with people. So I'm looking forward to you looking it up quick and sending it to me. Maybe you know offhand. Maybe Jane even knows. Jane will probably share that passage with me. Faith, hope, and love. And of course, the greatest of these is love, because faith and hope will pass. The hope for the dream that you have is going to leave you once the dream has been reached. The faith necessary to make that dream become a reality will no longer be required once the dream has been reached. But the one thing that's going to continue is the love that you had for the dream, because you're going to be enjoying it. You're going to be passionately engaged with it. So I trust that you will make that connection when it comes to your dream and your future. We are waiting. The world is waiting for you to show up and to pursue your purpose with passion. And of course, how could we miss the 1313, Henny? This is such an amazing observation that I make right now, because it was on the 13th of the third month, the 31st of the third month, 2013, or as I wrote it, 31/3/13, 31313. And on that particular date, it was the day of resurrection. And it was a day that I shifted my thinking from being focused on ownership to the realization that we are here for stewardship. And that is a head to heart shift. The head, the world says ownership. The heart talks about stewardship, because you and I know we're not here forever. We're here to start something that's going to finish. And so when I see 1313, and those of you who have been part of Map for Life for some time will know our mentorship structure is 1 + 3. We talk about Peter, James, and John being 3 disciples that everyone seems to know, but they forget the other 9 names. And so this structure, 1-3, the perfect mentorship structure, is what we've been using in Map for Life. And so when you put there 1-3-1-3, I see that straight away. Thank you so much for sharing that. Eve, lovely to have you commenting. And I just want to see that, of course, Jane, you right on the money there with that scripture verse. Thank you so much for sharing. Eve, I like seeing your name as it is written in your YouTube post. You didn't tell me that secret, so good to learn something else. I hope that's not a joke. And by the way, that's a private joke between Eve and myself, and I think Jane. I can hear Jane giggling in the background already. There are so many things that begin to stand out. And you see this evening, I have a green background. The purpose of the green background, just by the way, is so that post recording this session, we can use the green screen effects with our editing software, and to just give people a better background. If we do the recording with the virtual background, it's not always a good quality, and so I've decided to rather use the green screen and then do it post recording, do the editing. But what's interesting about this concept of the green screen and the virtual background, it's almost like your vision. So if I was talking to you, in fact, just if I was talking to you and you saw the green screen background, you might not know that in reality, my vision is not green. My vision might look like this. It may have a different picture in the background. I might be seeing that the world is already mapped. You might be seeing the green screen, but what I see in the front of me is quite different. And so when somebody makes comments about your vision, remember that they don't see the same vision that you do. They see something different. And you need to begin to act on the vision that you see, not the vision that they see. And I think so often we're wanting people's permission to do something, to act, when they cannot see what you have seen. Just this morning, somebody said something very interesting to me, and I responded in a way that I've never responded before. I responded in the vision that I have, not with the feelings I felt, because what they said gave me feelings that, let me talk about it like this. They gave me feelings of disappointment, feelings of hurt, feelings of rejection, all these kind of feelings. And, sometimes we act on those feelings. We speak from those feelings. But this morning, I had an instantaneous response that is not based on the feelings that I felt, but rather on the vision that I have. And so their response, their rejection of something did not influence the ultimate outcome of the vision that I have in no way, shape, or form. And today was the first day that I have been able to respond so swiftly to a negative or distracting or disappointing comment. And my prayer is that you will be able to begin to shift your responses to in line with the vision that you have, and not with the rejection that you feel or the pain that you feel when someone else doesn't agree or doesn't support where you are going, because this is absolutely essential for us to do in order to manifest. I think Henny, thank you so much. Yes, I love this. When someone tells you it can't be done, that's the time to show them it can. Okay, Henny, you didn't quite say all those words, but this is reminds me of that quote by Henry Ford that says, "If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Um, I've often heard people describe what they're feeling to me, and they describe, in a sense, to look for you to show compassion or to agree or whatever, or not to agree, but to help them out of that particular place. And when they quote their situation, I will respond by saying, "I know." And they say, "But how do you know?" And I say, "You just told me." Because whatever you speak, whatever you declare, is your reality. And so the future that's yet to exist is reliant, its reality is reliant on your declaration. So the question we've got to ask ourselves is, what is our declaration? What are we speaking? Are we speaking something that's going to bring hope to people, or is it going to sow seeds of doubt? What is your voice? What is your declaration? Are there things that you and I maybe need to change? Should we speak differently, perhaps? I can hear you. I can hear you saying, yes, yes, yes. Everyone else speaks negatively. I'm the only positive person in the world. Well, sometimes we think that, but maybe we are also able to hear all their negativity because we actually speak that same language. Maybe it's time for us to change so we can ignore those voices and begin to become absolutely plugged in, locked in, focused. I love the racehorse. When they're going to go on a race, it is something interesting that they do for the horses. They put what they call blinkers on, and these blinkers cause them to focus on where they're going and not be distracted by the other horses in the race. And when I think about that, I'm reminded of how often in the schooling system and in life itself, we are so busy comparing ourselves to people to our left, to our right, behind us, in front of us, when actually what we should do is become laser focused on where we're going. May today be that time for you to become laser focused. I like the discussion that Eve and Henny are having. This is great, Eve. It's so nice to meet people from different countries and for different countries to connect together. Of course, I need to include Jane as well. She's reminded me of something so important, and that is to change what we listen to. Of course, our brain is so desperate for input that it has 2 ears and 2 eyes to take in, but only one mouth to release. I know it goes beyond 2 eyes, 2 ears. It's got 2 nostrils as well. Maybe there's 2 hands, there's 2 feet, there's 2 of everything. But when it comes to when we speak, there's one tongue, one tongue, one mouth. I think we need to start using them in that proportion. Let's begin to place our ears in the environment that hears the right things. We talked about the idea recently. In fact, while I was in Uganda, we talked about this as well, and that was the letters that I've been using for many years as a short form for the word Map for Life, and it's just the letters M4L. And Paul Smith, one of our regular MAP club members, shared with me that there is a a reference, and this was a scripture reference for those of you who've ever read the Bible. If you go and take a look at Matthew 4 and Luke 4, you will find in verse 4 of each of those chapters these words: "It is written that man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that comes from the mouth of God." And I think when we hear that kind of scripture, it is saying that we need to be renewing our mind constantly with the words in the user manual. You know, somebody once said to me, the word Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving earth. So if we hear those words, or if we take that seriously, then maybe the secret to the question that you have is written in the basic instructions before leaving earth. Maybe we need to start reading that book regularly. Maybe we need to meditate on it. Maybe we need to really seek that, or make that our source for what goes on in our mind, as opposed to the television and the radio and the newspaper, which so many people feel desperate to connect with. Tanya, so nice to have you joining us from Mauritius this evening. I know that in Mauritius it's quite late already, heading for 10 o'clock. I'm sure it's bedtime, getting to bedtime. In Uganda, I discovered that people just don't sleep there. They just stay up all day, all night, and they keep going. I don't know how they do it. It must be something in the water. But so nice to have you joining us from Mauritius. And of course, we all know that MAP stands for Mauritius Action Plan. And so, Tanya, this is the time for Mauritius. I've been to Uganda, but I want to come to Mauritius. I want to come there. I want to meet the people that you know. I want to empower you and work with you to inspire the people in Mauritius. And I'm sure your French goes beyond bonjour or bonsoir, as we say this evening, because mine is very limited. Yours may be far more advanced than mine. So together we can make a purposeful difference in the small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean called Mauritius. And of course, I know, because I can read the sign when I arrive in Mauritius, that I am welcomed in paradise. That's the sign, by the way, that greets anybody who arrives in Mauritius. Welcome to paradise. But the people in Mauritius don't know they are living in paradise. They need someone to tell them. And you, Tanya, and myself, and every other mapper, Mauritius can be our destination. Let's just not go there on holiday. Let's go there to make a purposeful difference. And I believe we can do so. Jane, you are invited, I'm sure. So let's leave our countries and go and visit some exciting places. Bonsoir, bonsoir, good evening. Bonsoir. Is that how you say bonsoir? Thank you very much. I would be dangerous if I had to read French. So I listen and I try and imitate what I hear, but I need to go and do that. Thank you so much. Devon, where are you from, Devon? Tell us. Great to have you join this evening. I would love to know where you're living, and nice that you have joined us before, and possibly we know each other. So just remind me where we've met, because I don't see your photograph, and it would be embarrassing for me if I am talking to someone I know well and I'm not sharing. So Tanya, so nice to have you, and I trust, just as we're chatting this evening, that you've been inspired, that you've been encouraged, that you have greater hope for the future than you had before you joined with us earlier this evening, because I know that God has placed something in your heart that takes you way above and beyond the circumstances of life. And every difficulty that may have come your way, every adversity that you have seen and experienced, all of those things have been simply there to shape you, to sharpen your focus, to make you more committed, to reveal your great and your greatest value, which is within. And I know that in your teaching that you do, that you have touched many hearts, that you have transformed many minds. And let's continue to do that, and let's do it together. Just so good to have you part of the session. Henny, absolutely. What we are doing today is creating our future. What's interesting, Henny, you won't, when I share some things with people, there's some things that are often unbelievable. But the first time I went to Mauritius, I did a training in it was Katrebon, I think. Katrebon, please help me. It's something like that. It's not too far from Port Louis. And while I was there, I actually talked about the choices we make today shape our tomorrow. I mean, can you imagine? This was in Mauritius, and you're talking about something now, and just connects back to that. And you and I have the ability, and following my trip to Mauritius, I used the concept on the title of the next year's edition of Map for Life, which was Design Tomorrow Today. And the question that we ask when we do training is, why live by default when you can live by design? I think this ties in perfectly with what you've just shared there tonight. So, Tanya, I just want to say back to you that you are an inspiration. And not only are you an inspiration, but Eve in Uganda is an encourager. And Jane is the most joyous person I've met. So every one of us, Henny says he's the humorous guy. Okay, so Henny is the humorous guy. But I think Henny is also the guy who has heard. Henny, you've heard that voice. And many times when you hear that voice, there's the other H that pops in, which is but how. And I want to encourage you tonight not to listen to the voice that keeps trying to sow seeds of doubt by getting to ask how, because we can't figure out how, because it's not our responsibility. If God has called us to do something, he's going to provide. He already knows how. He just needs you to have hope so that you can step in faith. And not only step in faith, but do what faith did, and that was to leap in faith, to jump in faith. So yes, living tomorrow today. Absolutely. This is what happens, Eve, and I want to see you. I want you to see this prophetic action. You reach into the future and you pull from the future into the present. So when you speak, you literally give things that are in the future permission to manifest in the present. And I hope this little action of reaching into the future and pulling it into the present is something that is of that you can relate to, and begin to see your words as you stepping, moving, reaching into that future and pulling the vision that you've seen into the present. What a great analogy that you used there. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's not a question mark. That's not I wonder if. That is a reality. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And even Jane, I think you are reading what Henny just said there and remembering what we discussed over the weekend, something that Jordan shared back in 2011, this example of what happens when you open the cocoon on behalf of the butterfly and how that butterfly's future is destroyed when you open the cocoon on its behalf. What what you're actually doing is you're weakening, you're preventing the butterfly from strengthening its wings. And we talked about this over the weekend, Henny, and just such a great analogy. Thanks for the reminder. I think for every one of us, let's remember that when you feel like all of when you feel like using those wonderful words, the opposite word to solution, the opposite word to being above the circumstance, the opposite word to opportunity. When you're feeling those other words come on you, remember that's just the cocoon. That's just the cocoon. You are a butterfly breaking through. And when you break through, your wings are going to be developed to such an extent that you are able to fly. And tonight we're talking about that. We're talking about hope. And it's about stepping off the ledge like the bird does, stepping or leaving the nest. We even talk about our children leaving the nest. We talk about people spreading their wings. Isn't it time we act on that language and begin to use it, demonstrate it? I think so. I think tonight is that opportunity for each of us. I think that I'm going to give you a moment to share a comment or ask a question. And if you don't have another one, then we will end this evening session. I'm ready to answer any questions that you might ask. And if I don't know the answers, our panel, when I say our panel, you on Facebook or on YouTube or online with me in studio, you have the answer. So I'll refer the question back to you if I don't have the particular answer to the question that you ask. So please share your question. Other than that, we will end this evening's broadcast. Paul, hey man, so good to hear you. Thank you. You, the man who unlocked the code. You unlocked the code. You are the person who revealed the true meaning of M4L for me. Matthew, Luke, chapter 4 and verse 4. So thank you, Paul. Great to have you joining us this evening. And you would love to meet the people from Uganda. Just for those of you who don't know, Paul actually spent some of his time studying theology back in the day, and finds himself in a place where he is helping others constantly. Although his profession might look a bit different, he's actually connecting constantly with his passion and engaging with people. And Paul, I just want to encourage you to keep doing that, because although you might not see how that can pay the bills at the end of each month or feed the family, I hope that tonight is going to restore the hope within you that in fact God is faithful, and he will follow through, and he has already provided in advance for everything that he's called you to do. So keep speaking to people, keep encouraging them like Eve does, and carry the joy of Jane in your heart when you do so. Because when people see and I say the joy of Jane because Jane has the joy of the Lord in her heart. And so carry that joy with you. And when you do, it's going to ignite people in a way that nothing else can. So you're a great encourager. Thank you for being part of tonight's show and sharing so faithfully with us. Okay, good. Guys, let's call it a night. It's been wonderful chatting to you. This is the first time we've had this kind of format. It's been such a joy to spend the evening with you, and I'd love to invite you to participate every Wednesday evening. Let's get together. Not only join us on a Wednesday evening like this, but why not be bold and start your own map cafe? start your own online session with 3 or 4 other people, so that you can begin to sow into their lives and grow together. Because through mentorship, accountability, and preparation, participation, we can grow one another. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences. We all come from different situations or circumstances. We all have different aspirations and hopes for the future. And together, the result of that means that we all have our own unique message. So why not start a group where you are right in your place, meet in a coffee shop. If you're not able to meet in a coffee shop, meet online. But whatever you do, don't make excuses. Just make it happen. Because when you do, magic is the result. So the question that Eve is asking, if you have more than one dream, how do you hone that one dream, or can one marry dreams? Well, Eve, what I would like to say is that the Map for Life process is designed to help you to prioritize your dreams and to focus on the one with the greatest priority. But we have two hands. So I remember reading in one of Zig Ziglar's book, he says you can manage to carry 2 balls because you have 2 hands. But as soon as you pick up a third one, a ball's going to begin to drop. And so to protect yourself from not reaching any dream, rather focus on the highest priority, the one you're most passionate about, the one that's going to have the greatest impact. And once the fire has started there and you have a team of people that can run to that vision, if the other vision is still valid and important to you, then begin to do the same thing with that vision. But use the power of focus in your favor. However, there's something else to consider, and that many times we see different things that we are passionate about. They seem to be vastly different. But if we write those different things down that we have connected with, that have made our heart quicken, if we write those different things down, there's a very strong possibility that there is a golden thread that links those different dreams together. And that golden thread is what reveals your purpose, Eve. It reveals the real thing that you have come to do, because purpose is why you do something, not what you do. So the dream may be a reflection on the what, but the reflection on the what could reveal the hidden message of the golden thread that links them together, which is called purpose. So keep writing those different dreams down. Dig into them further, verify using the the secret 7-step formula, which I shared with you over the weekend. Verify those dreams to make sure that they are truly worthy of your life's investment. And if they are still important to you and you're finding it difficult to let one go for the other, decide which one you're going to start with. So don't let it go. Keep it there, but start with one first. Get that one some momentum. Get it to a point where it's able to run on its own, to continue with a team of people. Then shift your focus to the other dream. However, I suspect there's a golden thread that links those dreams together that is going to reveal something absolutely important to you, so that you can invest your life in your purpose fully, and not be distracted by a good idea, but connect with the great ideas in your life. I hope that helps you, Eve, and also to the other people that are listening, because you're not the only person that has that question or that concern on your heart. Raymond Ackerman said something very important to me. He said, focus on a pinhead. And at the time he said that to me in my life, I was 33 years of age. In fact, I just turned 34 when he said that to me. And at the moment, or at that particular time, I had I was focused on a pin cushion. I had so many ideas, so many irons in the fire. I was convinced that I had to do all of these things. And he looked at me directly and he said, Glenn, if you want to achieve the kind of success that you see with what I have done in terms of Pick and Pay and all the other massive big businesses that he started here in South Africa, he said, if you want to achieve success in your life, you need to make a choice. You need to focus on one thing. And when you've made that commitment, he then asked the next question. He says, is your wife with you on this? He would have said it like this to you, Eve. He would have said, is your husband in it with you? In other words, do you have the support of your spouse? And right at this minute, you might have a small doubt in that area. And if you do, I would highly recommend that you start looking carefully, get your husband or your spouse to also go through a process to define clearly what their dreams are, and then look at both of your dreams and see what is common in those dreams. And when you do, and you connect with that commonality, then you can start saying, people who dream together stick together. And I know that you are stuck together like glue already, but when you have a dream that you share, wow, then it's something quite magical. And I trust that those of you listening have found that of value. And I just want to say to all of you, it's been just such a privilege and pleasure to spend this hour with you. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place. So next time, join us with a friend. Invite someone else to participate and be part of this journey as we step into the future and touch people's lives and transform the world in the process. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.